I didn't think I would ever get involved in this project and do a restoration of a steam fire engine. I've always been fascinated with antiques and old machinery. I went to Virginia City. It just happened to be in Virginia City, and there was a muster. And there was a steamer there in the muster. And I thought that would really be neat. I wonder if there's any in Utah. Well, I was very thrilled when I discovered there was a steam engine right there, this close to where I lived, right in Salt Lake City. I had no idea at all.
It was in Liberty Park. It had been displayed there for a long time. And then Tooele Fire Department took it and restored it, and they put it back out into the Liberty Park. And then a lot of the parts were missing, a lot of damage was being done, and so it was then donated to the Daughters of Utah Pioneers.
I've grown up here my whole life, and that's been in there since 1972. And when I found out about that, I immediately went right up there to see if it was true, and I did. I was directed to the Carriage House Museum, and I walked in, and there it was. And I couldn't believe that we did have a steam fire engine here left.
Brent first started visiting the museum, not to see the museum, but just to see the fire engine.
It was lowered into place by a crane before the second floor was put on the building, and they told me that there was no way for the engine to come out. And I told them, actually there is, we can take it apart. And I remember Edith got very nervous at that point and shook her head and said, don't even talk to me about this, it is not going to happen. And she got very firm. When I finally got to the point in dealing with Edith and Louise from the Daughters of Utah Pioneers, and they finally said, okay, I bugged them enough.
And the next thing I knew, we were dismantling the entire engine, putting it in little boxes, and carrying it out the freight elevator. And at that time, I felt total panic as I watched it go out.
Well, at the start of the project, Brent had us come up and take a look at it to see if it was possible for us to get it out of the basement. And took the measurements on the elevator shaft and measurements on the hallway that we had to go down, and the largest pieces, and we determined we could get it out. So we tapped them all and got them all broke loose the first day, and the second day we went pulling the thing apart with the use of gantries and come-alongs, and disassembled it, put it on rollers, and rolled it down the hallway, which was on a pretty steep pitch, and working that elevator shaft. It was kind of an antique of its own. R.D. Bailey, he is the founder of Intermountain Rigging. Bill was the one who originally looked at this project, and he left us of cancer here last fall. Several times throughout the year, we'd sit there of an evening after our jobs were done and reminisce about the project and tell him how things was looking on it. And I'm sure he's up there watching us right now, just grinning.
I'll have to admit, I really didn't think there would be this much involved. I knew there would be a lot of work involved. Of course, I wanted it back to operating condition. So when I realized there was 22,000 parts to this machine, and a lot of them were missing, needed to be machined, cast, found, whatever, all the tubing in the boiler had been cut out with a cutting torch at some point.
Now, when I first looked at what they had to work with, I just figured there was no way that we could come up with any kind of an idea. By talking and with one of the other Boilermakers and stuff, and decided we'd come up with a header and then put tubes in between the headers and then tie them all together. And that's what we come up with. Just 36 years of experience around the boilers and stuff like this here, and I think we come up with an idea, and apparently it works.
When I first saw the parts, they were all in little bins, and I didn't realize how many bins there really were until we started the 2.5-year project of refinishing the parts. We had to take every single piece apart, every nut, every bolt, every washer had to be disassembled. Then the parts were stripped, and they were stripped different ways depending on whether they were steel or brass or some other material. Then the parts got a rough polish, and it went through a progressive number of steps with a finer and finer grit until the parts had a polish on them. After the parts are polished, then we're able to electroplate the parts in order to give them the nice shine and quality which we wanted on the parts. This project is a little different from what we would normally do in that we're taking a piece of history, we're trying to bring it back to its original condition when it was originally in service.
I sought out my former boss and good friend, Chief Lemon, from the Bountiful Fire Department, and went in and talked to him, and he kind of gave me a funny look and said, "Let me see what I can do," and that's what he did.
Okay, I thought it'd be a morale builder for the fire department. When I was asked if we would do it, I knew that the city didn't have any money to put into something like this, outright cash. We have a lot of people on the fire department that are very talented. We keep our equipment in tip-top shape. We do it all ourselves, the maintenance and everything. We had been told, and through the rumors through all the fire departments throughout the state, that we would never restore the steamer back to a working condition, and it would never end up back in the Daughters of Pioneer all in one piece because it was in so many pieces. So when November come around, we had it back enough together that we thought, well, Brent was excited and we wanted to test fire it and see if it really would pump and all this. One Saturday we decided we'd go over and spend the whole Saturday and fire it up and see if it would really pump.
And one of the highlights was when we actually heard the old whistle blow and the black smoke coming out the pipe. It was wonderful.
There is no other monument in the state of Utah that represents the dedication and the sacrifices that the firefighters of this state, past, present, and hopefully in the future, will make, and how it affects our everyday lifestyle and what we enjoy. And this will be the first tribute to firefighters and their families that this state of Utah has.
Well, after it's been on tour, we hope that we want to build a new building and have the fire engine in the building so that everybody that is interested in the fire engine and interested in the history of the fire department will come to the museum and visit the museum and see it in its beautiful state.
We feel the fire engine is important enough to history that we're going to build a whole wing to put it in and to put a lot of the memorabilia that comes from the fire departments and the firemen into that display with it.
We're going to have some excited people coming into the museum.
I never dreamed that the fire engine would be so grand and ornate once it was finished.
It is more beautiful than I ever expected it to be.
And it has ended up being a very well done project. I'm proud of what our guys have done on it.
I put my whole heart and soul into this project, and it's been very good, and it's taught me a lot of things about myself.
The rich history of Utah firefighters is hidden away, unseen and unappreciated by its people. People that would be proud of the men and women who served in the old fire brigades. This history, traditions, and excitement of the firemen can live again. Their legacy is perhaps best told in a poem. Brave relics of the past are we, old firemen staunch and true. We're thinking now of the days gone by and all that we've gone through. Through fire and flames they made their way, many dangers we have seen, and we never can forget the time when we ran with the old machine. No rival could approach us then in valor or in speed, and often we have taken part in many a daring deed. The fire bell was the bugle cry that brought us to the scene, when lives were saved and dangers braved, when we ran with the old machine. In numbers now we are but few, a host have passed away, but still we're happy, light and free, our spirits never decay. We often sigh for the good old days, whose memory we kept green. Oh, there was joy for men and boy when we ran with the old machine.
It's been one of the most exciting things that I have dealt with in the Daughters Utah Pioneers. And I haven't dealt with it a lot. I've only dealt with it bits and pieces. But every time I look at a picture, every time I talk about the fire engine, I get choked up and excited. Picture, every time I talk about the fire engine, I get choked up and excited.
Of Utah Pioneers, firefighters worldwide, and to the citizens of Utah, I